Welcome to the KidMin podcast with Dr. Val and Dr. Virginia, where we talk about everything KidMin
and pull back the curtain on some of the surprises and challenges in children's ministry that nobody prepares you for.
I'm Dr. Val, and together we have over 45 years of experience in children's ministry.
I'm Dr. Virginia. Valerie and I met over 10 years ago in our doctoral program at Southeastern Baptist Theological Seminary. We are excited to share with you all the great stuff that we have picked up over the years. We want to minister to you, the children's minister.
Welcome, friends. We are just so grateful that you've taken time to join us today. Dr. Virginia and I have had quite the month of January.
Yes.
This part of February. I don't know about you, Dr. Virginia, but 2024 is not starting out like I expected it to.
Right. Kind of a roller coaster, starting on a high of CPC and then surprises.
Yes. That was what we went into January 2024 having the opportunity to lead a couple of conferences at the Children's Pastors Conference. You know, we if you kind of didn't catch those episodes, we talked about it a little bit, and then we actually did an episode from where we were attending the conference. And so we were just really excited. And I will tell you, just for me, that was the first time to be able to speak in front of a group of live people in person since before the pandemic. So I was super excited about that week, and it was just so encouraging, and it was just very inspiring for me and for us. Yes, Dr. Virginia and I spent a lot of time talking about ways that we can serve you better and how we can find more opportunities to be able to help you in your ministries. And so we left Children's Pastors Conference very excited. And then life. And then life.
Yes.
Things got a little crazy after that.
Yes. And so, you know, at least on my end, it was good, crazy, and you know, less than good, crazy. I don't know. I don't want to say bad, but you know, it was sort of like, January just ended up for me personally just being like a jam-packed month, coming out of a jam-packed December,
right,
going into a jam-packed, January with CPC and with our big, twice a year annual planning for our church staff. We had guests in, which was wonderful, but they, are from out of the country and come to the US once a year. But that was, super fun to see them. And then my kids just got on this revolving door of like sickness that we just like couldn't get out of.
Yeah.
And so, so it just ended up being very, very overwhelming.
Yes. Well, and that was when we were actually, my husband went with us to the Children's Pastors Conference because you guys know, you've heard me say before, we're huge Disney fans. And so for him to have the opportunity to hang out at Disney while we were speaking at the conference, meant a lot to him. So, but he actually, several years ago, he had hip replacement surgery because he had a congenital hip defect. And so they ended up having to do a hip replacement. And he's had some issues with it over the years. And while we were at the Children's Pastors Conference, he started having some pain in his knee. He thought that he had maybe torn something in his knee, done something like that. And over the next week, the pain just got worse and was causing more issues. And so we went to his doctor and we found out that his hip replacement has broken. Apparently there's some sort of defect in the metal or something. They're not sure yet. They'll find out more once they remove it. And so on Friday, we are headed to Nashville for hip replacement surgery again. And
hip replacement.
Hip replacement. Yeah. So it's going to be complicated, and we're not exactly sure what it's going to entail. It may be that he gets to come home next week and he'll recover here and do his physical therapy here at home. But there's also a small possibility that he might have to stay in Nashville in sort of like a rehab facility if they have to do some cutting that they are not expecting to do, but they might. So it's one of those things where we don't quite know what's going to happen or what the next 6 to 8 weeks of our lives are going to look like.
Yeah.
But it was very unexpected. Like I said, we kind of just went in thinking he'd tweaked something in his knee and then found out that it was actually the hip that was radiating pain down into his leg. So it's been an interesting week trying to figure out all the things we have to figure out because, you guys know I take care of my 92-year-old mom. And so we have to kind of figure out how we're going to manage that along with being in Nashville for a little while. And so it's brought some challenges. And so the week kind of got away from Virginia and I both. And we didn't,
Yeah.
we have 4 great episodes that we are getting ready to record. And we just have not had time to be able to do it. But we had this
No.
really short window this morning
Yes.
that we thought that we would
Mhm.
just come on and maybe give you a little bit of encouragement and let you know how we are surviving the stress
Yeah.
that we've been going through for the last couple of weeks. And also let you know that we're not quite sure if there may not be episodes for the next couple of weeks. We're going to have to kind of wait and see after Friday, and we'll give you an update after that. But we're hoping that we'll be able just to jump back in next week and record and do all the things, but we're not quite sure right now.
Right. And just, to share with you guys some encouragement, that the Lord has given us in this season, and also just to ask you, to be praying for us. As Valerie mentioned to me at CPC, we had, spent a lot of time meeting together, talking about like, okay, what do we want to do next? Like, what do we, what does the Lord have for this? Just like what you said, how can we better minister to people? And so just to have those thoughts and those plans so just like immediately derailed by like everything in both of our lives. It's like, oh, Jesus. Oh, Lord. Like,
Oh, yeah.
But the Lord makes a way
Yes.
through all those things. And so he will for us, and he will for our future projects. And so,
Right.
yeah.
He really
Yeah.
does. I was telling Virginia, I started a new Bible study last week, and it was like the day after we found out about all of this with Lewis's hip and everything that was going on. And I was working through the study for that day, and it was taking us to Job 38 and kind of working through that particular chapter. And I was telling Virginia, it was just so encouraging to me at that moment because there was this frustration of, wow, we had all of these plans, all of these things that we were going to do. And now I kind of don't know what the next couple of weeks are going to look like or what I'm going to be able to do. And I was so frustrated. And it was bringing me to that point of being able to say, oh, Lord, I don't understand, why is this happening when we were so excited and so ready and so, going forward. And it was just sort of this sense of, because in Job 38, we've had, Job that's gone through all of this pain and suffering and, and he's tried to be faithful, but he's had these moments of saying, God, I don't understand. And why is this happening? And he has friends that are just so not helpful in the way that they are like trying to encourage him in the most frustrating ways possible. And then you have Elihu who kind of comes in and gives a little bit of a voice of reason. But then you have God speaking to Job through the whirlwind, and where he just says, where were you at the foundations of the earth? Where were you when I did this and this? And it just goes through all of the power and the majesty and the wonder of God, his omnipotence, and how he is all powerful and how he knows, because he's saying, who are you to question? Because were you there when I did all of these things?
Right.
And it was this wonderful moment of reminding myself that, you know what, God is in control. He sees the big picture. So even when I have those moments of, oh my goodness, what's happening right now? And why is this happening? And what do I need to do next? Where it's just it was just that moment of God saying, you know what? I've been here from the beginning and I have done all of these miraculous things. And you just need to trust that I know what's best and know that he is going to be faithful and he is going to be with us no matter what we face and what we do. And that we just do the next right thing, that we just take the next step.
Amen. Well, and that ties really well with what I was going to share. This was something also recently from my personal Bible study time. This is in Hebrews 12, verses 3 through 13. I'm just going to read it all.
All right.
For consider him who endured such hostility from sinners against himself, so that you won't grow weary and give up. In struggling against sin, you have not yet resisted to the point of shedding your blood. And you have forgotten the exhortation that addresses you as sons. My son, do not take the Lord's discipline lightly or lose heart when you are reproved by him. For the Lord disciplines the one he loves and punishes every son he receives. Endure suffering as discipline. God is dealing with you as sons. For what son is there that a father does not discipline? If you are without discipline, which all receive, then you are illegitimate children and not sons. Furthermore, we had human fathers discipline us, and we respected them. Shouldn't we submit even more to the Father of spirits and live? For they disciplined us for a short time based on what seemed good to them. But he does it for our benefit so that we can share in his holiness. No discipline seems enjoyable at the time, but painful. Later on, however, it yields the peaceful fruit of righteousness to those who have been trained by it. Therefore, strengthen your tired hands and weakened knees, and make straight paths for your feet, so that what is lame may not be dislocated, but healed instead. And so, the Lord just brought that passage to me just as such of an encouragement, because it's sort of like, it's like when everything is not going how you want it to go.
Oh, yeah.
It's so easy to be like, I just want to get frustrated and give up. But all this is written, so we won't grow weary and we won't give up, and to endure suffering as discipline. And we've talked about this before, that, discipline and disciple, those come from the same root word of teaching. And so, whenever scripture talks about enduring suffering as discipline, endure suffering as teaching, there is something that God is teaching in difficult seasons.
Right.
It says that no discipline seems enjoyable at the time, but painful. Later on, however, it yields the peaceful fruit of righteousness to those who have been trained by it. Yeah. And so it's easy in difficult situations to be like, oh, Jesus, what do? I give up.
Yes.
But Lord, may I be disciplined and intentional to be trained by this situation, and to be open to whatever it is that the Lord is teaching through this.
Right.
Because through that, he can, strengthen our tired hands and our weakened knees, and he will make our paths straight.
Right.
And so looking at difficulties through the lens of, what is it that I am here to learn from this? And we saw where Job and all of his difficulties and just overwhelming heartbreak and everything he went through. I mean, he learned about, like you said, God's omnipotence and his omniscience, that he knows everything, he can do anything.
Right.
And so, he learned about the character of God in a much more profound way than he, would have otherwise. So,
for sure. Well, and I think that
teaching.
He is. And I think that what happens, or at least this is what I've been learning, because honestly, we have had just one crisis after the other for the last few years. Honestly, it's the longest period of constant crisis that I think our family has had. And so there's been a lot of times for me over these last few years where I have said kind of I don't quite understand what's happening. I don't quite understand. And what I tend to do is I get so overwhelmed by the crisis, I tend to become very hyper-focused in one space. And I get so overwhelmed that my brain kind of shuts down, and I just want to survive. And I think one of the things that I realized over these last few months, as I've been really trying to dig more into scripture and the truth, because I do let the lies take over my brain. Why is this
Mhm.
happening? I can't do this. This is overwhelming. I get that in my head,
Mhm. Yeah.
and I forget the truth of what God's word
Mhm.
is. And so I've really been trying to be more intentional lately of going to God's word and reading what's
Mhm.
true when I feel overwhelmed, so that I don't let the
Mhm.
lies get into my head so much.
Mhm.
But I think that all through that, I've also learned that sometimes I get so overwhelmed by the crisis that I don't take the time to see what I can learn from it. And
Mhm.
so really trying to slow my brain down in the middle of this and say, okay, Lord, what do you have to teach me today through this? And really digging into his word and digging into what he has for me, as opposed to getting so overwhelmed with the crisis that I
Mhm.
can't think about anything else, or I let those lies overwhelm my brain, which is what I feel like I've done over the years, especially lately, is that I just let myself get overwhelmed and I kind of shut down. And so it's really getting myself back into God's word when I have those feelings, so that I can read his truth and realize he is sovereign and he is in control and he does love me and he is there for me and he promises he won't leave me or forsake me. And I can just hold on to those truths. And that helps me to be able, to look at these things, not just to live through them,
Mhm.
but to learn through them.
Amen. And it's like, and I know with my personality, I tend to be like a very introspective person. And
Mhm.
so it's like sometimes I think if I just, I mean, I don't think this consciously, but it's like if I just think about this enough, I can like think my way like to a
Uh-huh.
solution.
Right.
So sometimes I just have to stop myself and be like, okay, like I can't think my way to this solution. Like
Right.
I can ruminate on this, but ultimately like that's not what I need. That's not
Right.
how I'm going to arrive at the solution. Like I just have to like prayerfully give this to God and just like what you
Right.
said, like take the next right step, whatever that
Mhm.
is.
Mhm.
Whatever that is for this day, this hour, this moment, do that next right step and prayerfully just commit it all to God.
Right.
Yeah, so it's definitely easy for me to try to find my own solutions
Right.
and think that I can figure it out. But it's such a good reminder that the Lord sees everything.
Mhm.
The Lord sees everything.
Right.
The tiny sliver of things that I can see
Mhm.
and the big enormous picture that I can't see.
Right.
And so I just have to trust that whatever the next right step is, even if it doesn't make sense, even if I can't see the whole picture, like
Right.
that's what I'm going to do. And
Right.
I'm just going to keep doing that next right thing. So,
Right.
yeah.
Well, and I think that's a great reminder for us in ministry in general, because I
Mhm.
do believe that with preschool and children's ministry, we end up in crisis management so much more than even a lot of other ministries in the church might
Yes.
do, because
Yes.
we have such
Yes.
a wide variety of people that we're ministering to, because we are ministering to the children, but also their parents, and also,
Mhm.
the way that like things that happen in their grandparents' life affects them. And so
Mhm.
there's constant, and because we're working with volunteers that have lives
Mhm.
and have things that they have that
Yeah.
happen, so we are constantly managing, crisis after crisis, because, we get those phone
Mhm.
calls on Sunday mornings or on Wednesday afternoons. And so we're
Yeah.
constantly having to kind of scramble. And I think it's really easy to get caught up in those moments so much that we
Mhm.
aren't taking the time to kind of take that step back to remind ourselves that God is sovereign and that God is in
Amen.
control and that he loves us, because and I think that's why burnout in children's ministry
Mhm.
can happen so quickly, because we're constantly dealing with the crisis situations. And so
Right.
I think
Right.
that for our own self-protection, but also for our ministry's protection, we have to take
Mhm.
that time to get into his word and take that time to take a
Amen.
step back and to put things in his hands and to kind of say, okay, what can I learn from this? How can I learn from this? How can I use this situation to help teach my kids and teach my families? And so
Mhm.
it is overwhelming because it's constant, but God is faithful and he's there.
Amen.
And so that's just sort of where I've had to remind myself of late,
Mhm.
especially, just that God is in control and that he can
Amen.
take every situation and turn it into his plan and his purpose. And so it's just getting that deep breath and taking things one step at a time and just remembering God's sovereignty. And I think for this week, I'm probably going to be asking myself that question a lot. Where were you
Mm.
at the foundation of the earth? Just so that I can remind myself that God is
Yes,
in
yes.
control and I am not.
Amen.
And so nothing that I do is going to thwart his plan.
Amen.
He is in control. And so,
Amen.
yeah. So we said all of this just to let you know that we don't know exactly what's going to be happening over the
Yeah.
next couple of weeks, but
Mhm.
know that we are thinking of you and we are praying for you and we are looking for ways that we can minister to you more. So we have some great episodes that we are going to get recorded and we're going to get out there for you. It just might take us a couple of weeks to get going with it,
Right.
so that we can get that material out to you. But we're looking forward to spending time talking about preschoolers and children. And we're looking forward to being able to try to help you more in your ministry. We are just so thankful for you. I don't even have the words to say. Just getting to meet so many of you at Children's Pastors Conference, we had so many people that said, "Oh, we listened to your podcast," and that walked up and introduced themselves to us. And so you have just been such an encouragement and such a bright spot for us. We are so thankful that God gave us that first week of January to be able to be
Yeah,
so
amen.
encouraged and have so much joy in being
Mhm.
able to spend time with you. So we loved that so much. And that's given us the excitement and the energy and just the encouragement to push forward no matter what we're kind of dealing with in our own lives right now. And so we are appreciative of you. Hopefully, this next couple of weeks, if we aren't able to get out some new information for you, you can take some time to go back and listen to some of our other podcasts that we've recorded and that we posted. You might be able to be reminded of something that you need a little bit more information on, or maybe catch an episode that you missed in the past. And we would like it so much if you could like and subscribe and all the things for us. Because like I said, this is not us, saying that we are done by any means. We're just letting you know that we are just going to be needing a couple of weeks to get our ducks back
Yeah.
in the row,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then we will be back to sharing more information with you. We thank you so much for being here. We thank you for taking time to spend with us, and we look forward to talking to you again really soon. Bye-bye.